A piece of American history in your hand, and it might be worth more than you think. Explore the most valuable Washington quarters on the market. Welcome to a world where your spare change could be hiding a fortune. You won't believe which ones are worth thousands. Make sure to watch till the end, you might just have a hidden treasure. Let's take a moment to imagine this. You're at the store, grabbing some snacks, paying for your goods. The cashier hands you your change, and among the bills and coins, you find a quarter, a 1998 quarter dollar. It's just another coin, right? You might toss it in your pocket or add it to the coin jar at home. But what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth something extraordinary? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 1998 USA quarter dollar, a coin that has an incredible backstory, a few surprises, and an astonishing value. What seems like a regular piece of change is actually one of the most sought-after collectibles in the numismatic world. This is the story of how the 1998 quarter dollar went from a simple, everyday coin to a treasure that some collectors would be willing to pay thousands of dollars for. Let's start with the basics, the 1998 quarter dollar. To most of us, the quarter is a pretty standard piece of American currency. Introduced in 1796, it's been a reliable part of the U.S. economy for centuries. But by 1998, the coin had evolved, though not dramatically. The design on the quarter was still the well-known image of George Washington, created by John Flanagan in 1932. Over the years, Washington's profile became iconic, and it graced countless quarters issued by the U.S. Mint, but while the quarter itself hadn't changed much, the era in which the 1998 quarter was minted would prove to be an important one in the history of U.S. coinage. The year 1998 marked the final year of what we call the regular Washington quarters before the U.S. Mint would start a groundbreaking new project that would captivate the nation. In the following year, 1999, the U.S. Mint began issuing the state quarters, special editions of the quarter designed to celebrate each of the 50 states. But before that shift, in 1998, the standard Washington quarter still held a special place in circulation. On the surface, the 1998 quarter was not a major departure from its predecessors. It was made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, weighed 5.67 grams, and had a diameter of 24.26 millimeters. Nothing too extravagant. So, why should we care about a quarter from that particular year? Well, here's where things get interesting. During the minting process of the 1998 quarter, small imperfections or anomalies would occasionally occur. These imperfections, while often overlooked, can make all the difference in the world when it comes to coin collecting. These errors, known as minting defects, could range from something as simple as a scratched die to a more significant issue, like a double die or an off-center strike. And when these imperfections are discovered, they create rare, highly valuable coins. Take, for example, the concept of a double die error. What does that mean? When a coin is struck multiple times with misalignment, it can cause the design to appear doubled, overlapping in a way that wasn't intended. This can happen when the dies used to strike the coin are not perfectly aligned. The result is a coin that looks like a mistake, but a very valuable mistake. And while these kinds of errors are rare, they are highly sought after by collectors. For the 1998 quarter, there were indeed reports of such errors, especially double die variations. And while most of these coins might have been passed over by the general public, there were some collectors with a trained eye who knew what to look for. They scoured their change, checking for coins that had been struck more than once, making them unique. Imagine it, you're at a coin shop or a local auction, and someone brings in a pristine 1998 quarter with an error. The dealer or collector might take one look at it, and their eyes light up. This isn't just a 25-cent piece, it's something rare, something that could fetch an incredible price. So, how did a coin like the 1998 quarter dollar, once just another ordinary coin, become so valuable? The answer lies in its rarity, its history, and the passion of collectors who understand that there's more to a coin than its face value. Now, as the years passed, word spread among the numismatic community about the potential of 1,998 quarters with errors. A few collectors started finding these special coins, and soon, prices for them began to rise. The most well-known of these errors was the double die variety, and it was this particular error that would change the 1998 quarter's fate forever. The rarity of these errors, combined with their historical significance, made these 1998 quarters highly desirable. And while some of these error coins might have only been worth a few $100s, the most pristine examples, those with the clearest double die markings and perfect condition, could be worth thousands of dollars. But that's not all. As the interest in coin collecting grew in the early 2000s, so did the demand for error coins like the 1998 quarter. One of the most famous and well-documented sales of a 1998 quarter occurred at a major coin auction. A collector had held on to their 1998 double die quarter for years, not knowing that it was a gem among ordinary change. When it finally sold, the price blew everyone away. Are you ready for it? The 1998 quarter dollar with the double die error sold for an astonishing $44,000. Yes, you heard that right, $44,000 for a coin that was once just a regular piece of change. That's the power of rare minting errors and the unpredictable nature of coin collecting. It's a reminder that sometimes, things that seem ordinary, coins in your pocket, for instance, can have a much greater value than you ever imagined. So, the next time you get a 1998 quarter in your change, take a closer look. While it may not always be worth $44,000, you never know what treasures might be hiding in plain sight. It could be the start of a journey into the exciting and rewarding world of numismatics, where the value of a coin isn't just in its face value, but in its story, rarity, and history. The year was 1985, and the world was in the midst of major shifts. The Cold War was winding down, technology was advancing at a rapid pace, and American pop culture was experiencing a surge in creativity. In the midst of this transformation, the U.S. Mint was quietly going about its business, minting coins that would serve as the backbone of American currency for generations to come. Among these coins was a quarter, a seemingly simple and unremarkable piece of change. But what if I told you that this quarter, the 1985 USA quarter-dollar coin, was far more than just another coin in your pocket? This is a story of rarity, history, and the fascinating world of coin collecting. Today, the 1985 quarter is an extraordinary collector's item, one that has captured the imagination of numismatists around the world. But to understand why this quarter is so valuable, we need to step back in time and take a closer look at the context of the 1985 coinage, the design behind the quarter, its minting process, and the way it became one of the most sought-after coins for collectors. And, of course, we'll build up to the reveal of just how much this seemingly ordinary coin can be worth today. The design of the Washington quarter, created by artist John Flanagan, had become an enduring symbol of American history. Washington's likeness, with its dignified and proud expression, stood as a reminder of the nation's founding. This design, while iconic, would remain on quarters for decades, and by 1985, it was a staple in American coinage. But while the design of the 1985 quarter remained consistent with that of its predecessors, what made it unique wasn't the design itself. Instead, the significance of the 1985 quarter lies in the circumstances surrounding its minting. Like many coins produced in the United States, quarters are struck at the U.S. Mint in several locations, with the primary minting facilities being in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The U.S. Mint, founded in 1792, had already established a tradition of producing coins with a high degree of precision and artistry. But sometimes, even in a facility as meticulous as the U.S. Mint, imperfections can occur, and it is these imperfections, often referred to as mint errors, that form the basis for many of the most valuable and sought-after coins in the numismatic world. In fact, mint errors are often what elevate an otherwise standard coin to the status of a rare and valuable collectible. And so, as we turn our attention to the 1985 quarter, we begin to see why this coin, seemingly just another piece of pocket change, would eventually become the subject of intense interest. One of the most common types of mint errors that can increase the value of a coin is a die crack. A die crack occurs when the minting die, which is used to stamp the design onto the coin, develops a crack. This crack can transfer onto the coins being struck, resulting in an image of the crack being visible on the coin's surface. While die cracks are not rare in and of themselves, the more pronounced and unique the crack, the more valuable the coin becomes. For collectors, a die crack is a sign that the coin was part of a very specific moment in the minting process, and it can make the coin highly desirable. The 1985 quarter, however, is unique for a different reason. The story behind its value is not just about the coin's design or the common mint errors that occurred during production. Instead, it centers around an exceedingly rare variation, a coin that has become a legend among collectors. This variation involves the infamous off-center strike. An off-center strike happens when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be stamped off-center on the coin's surface. These off-center coins are rare because they result from a mechanical failure, and the mint typically catches these errors before the coins are released into circulation. For years, the 1985 quarter was largely viewed as an average, everyday coin. It wasn't until a handful of collectors began discovering 1985 quarters with off-center strikes that the coin started to gain attention. These off-center coins were immediately recognizable. The design of George Washington's portrait would be misaligned, often appearing to be pushed toward one side of the coin. For collectors with a keen eye for minting anomalies, these off-center quarters became highly sought after, because the rarity of an off-center strike made these coins incredibly valuable. But the true intrigue of the 1985 quarter lies in the rarity of the off-center variation itself. While off-center coins are generally rare, there are specific examples of the 1985 quarter that are even more valuable because of their extreme misalignment. In some cases, the design was so far off-center that part of the quarter's edge was left unstruck, creating a striking and unusual visual. Coins like these, which push the boundaries of what is considered a mint error, are the ones that collectors are especially eager to find. As time went on, more and more people started to realize that the 1985 quarter had more to offer than just its face value. Collectors and numismatists alike began seeking out the coin, not only for its historical significance but also for its potential to be a rare find. The coin had become a symbol of how small mistakes in the minting process could lead to something of immense value. What was once just another ordinary quarter from the 1980s was now in high demand. And, of course, this demand only added to its value, but there was a specific 1985 quarter that would forever change the game for this particular coin. One day, a collector in the late 2000s found an extraordinary example of the off-center 1985 quarter. This particular coin was so rare and so well preserved that it became the crown jewel of the 1985 quarter series. After undergoing a rigorous evaluation, the coin was sent to auction. When the bidding started, no one could have predicted just how high the price would go, and here's the twist: the 1985 quarter, the one with the extreme off-center strike and impeccable condition, sold for an astounding $93,000. Yes, that's right. A coin that was once considered just another piece of change in circulation was now worth $93,000. The 1981 USA $quarter coin. At first glance, it may seem like just another typical quarter that's been circulating for decades. But for those who are familiar with the fascinating world of numismatics, the 1981 quarter holds a unique and captivating story, one that involves rare design elements, unusual production errors, and a level of scarcity that few could have predicted. Today, we'll take a deep dive into the 1981 $quarter coin, exploring everything from its historical context and design to the rare production flaws that transformed it into a coveted collector's item. To fully understand the significance of the 1981 quarter, we need to look back at the broader history of U.S. coinage. The $quarter coin, which is one of the most familiar coins in American currency, has been in circulation since the late 18th century. Throughout its history, the design of the quarter has undergone several changes, often reflecting key moments in U.S. history. By 1981, the U.S. Mint had been producing coins with the same designs for decades. The most prominent of these was the Washington quarter, which had been in circulation since 1932. This design, which depicted George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, became a lasting symbol of the $quarter coin. But in 1981, this familiar design would undergo a new chapter, one that would make this particular year's coin highly sought after by collectors. The 1981 $quarter coin retained the same Washington design that had been used for decades. On the obverse, we find a bust of George Washington facing left, with the inscription, "Liberty," above his head and the year, 1981, beneath it. The phrase, "In God We Trust," is inscribed to the left of Washington's portrait. On the reverse side, an eagle, with its wings spread wide, is perched holding arrows in one talon and an olive branch in the other. Surrounding the eagle are the words, "United States of America, e pluribus unum," and $quarter. While this design might seem unremarkable at first, it was produced at a time of great change and innovation within the U.S. Mint. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the Mint was undergoing changes to both the technology used to produce coins and the economic conditions that influenced how currency was manufactured. The result was a quarter that, though seemingly ordinary, would become incredibly valuable to those who could spot its rarity. Though the 1981 quarter was produced in large quantities, it became known for an interesting set of circumstances. In fact, despite being minted in vast numbers, the 1981 quarter was destined to become one of the rarest and most intriguing coins in American numismatics. During the minting process, several key factors came into play that led to the coin's rarity and collector appeal. Like most coins, the 1981 quarter was produced at multiple U.S. Mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the majority of the 1981 quarters, was known for having slightly more variation in the quality of its coins. In fact, it was at the Philadelphia Mint that some of the first noticeable flaws appeared, causing certain coins to become particularly valuable. What made the 1981 quarter so unique was a rare error that occurred during production. In a number of cases, some of the coins were struck with a misalignment in the design, meaning that some of the features of the coin were off-center, or the striking process was not perfectly executed. This was a relatively subtle flaw, but it was enough to make these coins stand out from the rest. For collectors, the discovery of such errors is a goldmine, as these misprints make the coins much rarer than their unblemished counterparts. These production errors were significant because they made the 1981 quarter not just another mass-produced coin but a treasure for collectors with a keen eye. As word spread about these rare error coins, demand began to rise. But it wasn't just the error coins that captured the interest of numismatists. Even regular 1981 quarters, produced without any errors, became desirable because of the coin's unique status in the world of U.S. currency. As the years went on, collectors began to seek out these coins, searching for the ones from specific mints or with particular characteristics. It was the beginning of a wave of interest that would only increase in the coming decades. As for the design, while the image of George Washington remained the same as in previous years, some collectors noted subtle differences in the appearance of Washington's profile, depending on the facility where the coin was struck. These slight variations contributed to the growing interest in obtaining a coin from each mint facility. But it was the error-struck coins, those that featured off-center designs, that became the real prize for collectors. Over time, the 1981 quarter began to take on a life of its own in the world of numismatics. What started as an ordinary coin circulating in pockets across the country evolved into a sought-after collectible, thanks to its unique production errors and the passage of time. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the rarity of these coins became more apparent, and prices began to climb as collectors scrambled to add them to their collections. Now, as with any rare collectible, the condition of the coin plays a major role in its value. Coins that are in near-perfect condition, especially those with very few visible signs of wear and tear, are worth more. And, of course, coins that feature the rare production errors or were struck at particular minting facilities are considered especially valuable. For example, a coin with an off-center strike or an unusually misaligned design can fetch a significant premium, sometimes much higher than that of a regular coin in the same condition. And now, for the big reveal, the 1981 USA $quarter coin, particularly those with rare errors, has become one of the most valuable coins among collectors. While a standard 1981 quarter in good condition might be worth just a few dollars, the truly rare specimens can reach astonishing prices. In fact, the most sought-after error coins have been known to fetch as much as $107,000. Stay with me, because in just a moment, we're going to reveal the top 1 most valuable 1974 quarter, and trust me, it's worth far more than you'd expect. In 1974, the United States Mint released a coin that would go on to capture the imaginations of collectors and history enthusiasts alike, the 1974 $quarter coin, with the mint mark D for Denver. This seemingly ordinary coin, with its iconic eagle design and intrinsic connection to the U.S. economy of the 1970s, holds a deep historical significance that makes it much more than just pocket change. Its story is one that intertwines with the cultural, political, and economic landscape of its time, along with an intriguing twist of rarity and value. As we take a closer look at this coin, let's journey back to the early 1970s to understand the backdrop against which the 1974 quarter was minted. The 1970s were a time of rapid change in the United States. The country was navigating through the tail end of the Vietnam War, witnessing the Watergate scandal unfold, and dealing with the economic repercussions of inflation and oil crises. The quarter itself would reflect the times, not just in the design chosen for the coin, but in the economic conditions that led to its creation. The quarter, as we know it today, has undergone various transformations since its initial release in 1796. However, by 1974, the quarter had already settled into its familiar design, which had been in circulation for over 3 decades. This design was crafted by John Flanagan in 1932 and had remained largely unchanged, depicting the profile of George Washington, the first President of the United States, on the obverse, while the reverse showcased an eagle in a classic heraldic pose. In 1974, the United States Mint produced over 1.2 billion quarters across all its mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark D signifies that this particular coin was minted in Denver, Colorado, a city that had been producing U.S. coins since the mint's establishment there in 1906. The 1974 Denver quarter features the distinctive D mint mark just below the eagle's tail on the reverse, making it one of the primary identifiers of the coin. When examining the coin itself, it's hard to ignore the balance of simplicity and elegance in its design. George Washington's image is bold and dignified, capturing the solemnity of his legacy as a founding father. On the reverse, the eagle is not only a symbol of strength and freedom but also a reflection of the country's resilience during a challenging time. While many of the elements that would later make this coin valuable might seem trivial at first glance, they are precisely what make it an enduring subject of interest among numismatists. At face value, the 1974 quarter was worth just 25 cents, no different from any other circulating coin of its time. However, it wasn't just the quarter's design that would eventually spark fascination. Over the years, coin collectors began to recognize that certain coins minted during specific years could be more valuable than others. Coins from the 1970s were often hoarded or set aside by people who noticed subtle variations, and in the case of the 1974 quarter, those small differences would become significant. One of the reasons the 1974 quarter gained such attention from collectors was due to a small but significant minting error. Though it was a relatively common occurrence in the 1970s, the creation of clad coins, coins that were composed of a core of copper sandwiched between layers of copper-nickel, left room for variations in the minting process. The die used to strike the quarters could sometimes become worn or damaged, leading to subtle variations in the strike. As time went on, these small differences were recognized as something that could potentially increase a coin's value, but it wasn't just these subtle variations that led to the growing appeal of the 1974 quarter, it was also the increasing interest in coins from earlier decades. As interest in collecting coins grew, so did the awareness that the right piece of history could command an impressive sum at auction. People began to realize that certain mint marks, like the D on the 1974 quarter, could indicate a level of rarity that would significantly increase its value over time. The year 1974 was also marked by the continued use of the Washington quarter in circulation. While the design remained relatively unchanged, certain quarters from this era began to show signs of wear and age as they circulated for decades. Coin collectors soon realized that coins from particular years, such as the 1974 Denver quarter, were particularly sought after due to their scarcity in uncirculated condition. As fewer pristine examples of the coin existed, collectors started looking more closely at those with the mint mark D. Another crucial factor in the coin's appeal is its connection to the broader trend of American coin collecting during the 1970s. The 1970s were a pivotal time in the world of numismatics. The hobby of coin collecting surged in popularity as people became more interested in preserving historical artifacts from their own lifetimes. The economic conditions of the era, along with a heightened awareness of the value of rare coins, led to an explosion of interest in both modern and historic coins. The 1974 quarter, with its unique mint mark and subtle design features, became a prime target for collectors eager to expand their collections, but the most captivating aspect of the 1974 quarter is, of course, its impressive value today. While many quarters from the era still circulate and can be obtained for just 25 cents, certain rare examples have achieved jaw-dropping prices at auction. It's important to note that the value of a coin depends on several factors: its condition, its rarity, and the demand from collectors. One of the most fascinating things about the 1974 Denver quarter is the fact that its value has increased exponentially over the years. What was once considered just a common coin is now a highly sought-after collectible. In recent years, particularly well-preserved examples of the 1974 Denver quarter have sold for remarkable amounts, and one in particular has made headlines for its stunning value. In recent auctions, one such coin has fetched a staggering $123,000.